So I just want to introduce our next supplier, who is Nick Eriksson, and he is the Chief Technology Officer at Eurekos Systems. So over to you, Nick.
Thank you. I should be sharing my screen now, hopefully.
Yeah, all good.
Great. So unlike the others who've been here so far, we are not an LMS for L&D. We are in fact focusing on channels, your full channel. We are focusing on product companies, manufacturing companies, and professional training for externals. So we are all about building this smart customer. And if we're looking at me here, so this is my background. I'm also responsible for our ISO certifications, and this is something I'll come back to in relation to the other parts here that I'm going through. The Eurekos Systems, we've been working on our product since 2011, and right now we are actually also working for a number of NGOs like UNHCR and others. And I know they are not, in the product business, but they are an extended enterprise, and there is a complexity around this. An extended enterprise in general is a little bit different than, an internal L&D setup that you might have in a company, even if it is a large company. What we do is basically this. So this is all about being able to reach your end clients potentially through an entire sales channel, potentially through, you could even be a health doctor, with a concept where you actually want to scale out to the thousands, the tens of thousands, and to the end clients at the other, through potentially if you have resellers and stuff like this. What we do is that we look at things quite different, because when you are doing what we are doing here, it's the entire customer life cycle. This means it's even from the moment that they, you are in a lead state with the client. It impacts your marketing and other departments. So it's fully cross-functional. It's not just the HR department that's responsible for delivering certification training or skills, across the organization. So the value proposition, which is like time to value, the quicker you can get this time to value for your end clients on your products. If you have an analyzer, for example, that you need to train people in at a hospital in France, the faster you can get them to use this analyzer, if they are a laboratory assistant or anything else out there, then this is where you improve your time to value. This in turn will also improve, an educated customer is a satisfied customer, provided that your product, of course, does what it's supposed to do. And that means that you will have a better NPS, you will have better customer satisfaction, you will have less churn, you will have, greater success with what you have out there. Also, it's different in other ways. So for example, like, if I'm in an L&D, then, I could require my employees to do something because, it's mandatory. But often this is not mandatory. This is something that you want to try to get a sales rep to do, in a sales channel somewhere. And you want to promote your products, in an electronic store chain, over others. So you need to work with a different set of engagement activities, and you also have a commercial aspect that is different than what it is in L&D, which means that the tools, it needs to be a platform that is tuned to this purpose. We will have a different kind of onboarding procedure, that facilitates a multi-tenancy setup. That means I will have my entire channel. I need to be able to support this based on a different set of criteria than I do in an internal situation. So the complexity in my multi-tenancy setup, my partners, their end clients, and so on, that is something that needs to be supported with branded portals, extended e-commerce functionality, different types of discounts and corporate agreements, virtual credits, other things that you need to be able to facilitate this, to have those agreements and those partner agreements that you have, whether you're dealing with somebody who teaches AT&T in the US how to do 5G installations, or if it's something else. It also means that there's a different set of requirements for integrations. So it's not the HR system. Well, it's the CRM system, it's Salesforce, it's other systems that helps you, be able to measure and track the results of the impact that you have. Also, when we are looking at content, it's important to realize that you have a different type of organization here. So you will have, as I said, cross-functional, which means that there will be other people that will be creating this content. There'll be other people who will be promoting this content. It's not always only from within the LMS. It could be a marketing automation system where you need to reach people first, then get through a customer portal, and then they get in through to the LMS that is supplying this. So whenever you have a product update, and if you are a manufacturing company, you would have a lot of product updates all the time. You need to be able to rapidly change these. You need to have archives where you can update something one place and it will filter out in 100 different combinations throughout the world. If you have 200, countries that you're operating in, that also means that there has to be great localization. You have to be able to facilitate, and not just saying this like mobile first. That means everything has to be responsive, everything has to be adaptive. The localization needs to be excellent. This is currencies, this is languages, automatic translations, anything that can help you, admin this in a great way. And you will have different people. You will have subject matter experts all across your organization who needs to create content. That means it needs to be easy. It needs to be easy, fast to update. And of course, you need an API because you'll be integrating to a number of different systems that are unique to the organization. So they will want to do this. One of the things that we have learned is that we need to have basically no learning curve for administrators and users. So when we are against the competition that we have, the complexity of the systems that are behind are enormous. And that means, for extended enterprise, that means that they can spend like 3 weeks to train an admin. We train them in 3 days. And now we're down to 10 hours. So this is important. That means that the UX, not just for the end users who obviously have very little patience because they're not required to take that training very often, the engagement, and the quality of the content that you're creating needs to be better than you're used to because you can't require this. And the same things for the admins who don't do this for a full-time job often. They are actually doing this as a part-time investment. Now, because this is clients that we are talking about, there's a lot of other things that are suddenly important. Well, first of all, if we're looking at the way that we operate with the companies, we invest in the partners that we work with. So this starts from the very, very beginning. We figure out if you really are the right match. We invest in understanding the business that is behind the company that we are working with, because otherwise we cannot help with the roadmap, with the business development items that needs to, to happen in order to generate that success at the other end. So it is an iterative process, which means that we continuously are in contact about roadmap items, about business development, success, and so on. It is not left to coincidences when we are taking those steps. So it is an agile way of working. Here's an example of how an implementation process just looks like. But of course, this happens. It goes live, from the first POC to the next one, and you start to explore into different parts of the world when you're releasing these iterations. Another thing that is closely connected to this is, and I had this on a previous slide, is that security becomes more and more important. Of course, it does, for any service provider, but you can imagine the sensitivity that is being considered when all your clients are suddenly inside the system. It's not just my employees anymore. It could actually be both. So the concern here is that you need to work with someone who is actually doing, top-notch work on security investments. And that means you are being tested. You have pen tests. We've been pen tested by, our customers, like Porsche of Germany, Volkswagen. They want to test the system, even though we are just a vendor, in the setup, because their people are in. And that this kind of thing is probably an unusual situation for a typical L&D, but this is not when you're doing customer education. This is important. And you are crossing, of course, many parts, because you have these, if you have retailers, you have retailers in different countries, that could be other companies. There are different legal entities that are working together. So the complexity and the requirements for security is also very important, which means that you need to have multi-federation, for example. You need to be able to integrate to different systems at the same time, delivering authentication of people, users, and when you're exchanging data. So for this reason, we actually went through several years of, rigorous processes to improve all of this. And we have these today, like the 27001 and the 27701, which is data privacy. And we are continuously being audited in this, for that purpose. And GDPR, encryption for data at rest, and so on. As a company, we also have a very high investment into a roadmap. So when we are looking at this, we are actually putting in this year, just as an example, 33,000 hours of technical development. And we continue to do this in order to have a product that evolves with these requirements, because it is in a number of different places, as you can see. And of course, I'm happy to take any questions, but this is not the form. So, but go and look at our site, go and book a demo if you would like. And I just tried to do this comprehensive topic a little bit, in this 10 minutes. I think it's a great format too. So thank you.
Thanks, Nick. That was really great, really clear and detailed.